Larian Studios is getting in some hot water right now because they were working with AI on their games. And people are getting really frustrated with some statements that they made that are being afterwards found out that they're completely out of context. Jason Schreier, once again, leaving things out of information so that people are only getting bits and pieces of it. And it almost feels like it's being a lie by omission to paint the studio in the worst light possible. And it's got to make you wonder why journalists do this with particular studios and the timing of it. It's very, very curious. So this was a statement shared by Grums. He said this was what got Larian in trouble. He said, we use AI tools to explore references, just like we use Google and art books. At the very early ideation stages, we use it as a rough outline for composition, which we replace with original concept art. There is no comparison. So what they're saying here, even if you hate AI, should not worry you at all, because they're saying they replace it with actual artwork. They use AI to give them a rough draft, an outline, a storyboard, if you will, to then go over it and put original artworks in the game. Personally, I don't care. I really don't. If I can't tell in the game and it's great, who cares? Who cares? So I've noticed the people that are really pushing back on this are the artists, are the people that do this for a living, and they don't want AI to take their job. To which I say, how do you think the horses felt when cars were invented? Or the cotton gin, or the Industrial Revolution, or I don't know, you want to bring it to modern day, Photoshop. Like there's so many tools that have come throughout human history that have replaced what came before it. And specialty fields that people worked in were rendered completely meaningless and useless after it. And AI is doing that right now. And there's no amount of crying and complaining and whining that these wokies are going to do that's going to stop the onslaught of AI. And they're going to try to push with government entities and try to push laws in place. There is no stopping this. And I think that's a very good thing. It furthers society. It pushes people forward. It assists them in making things better. It saves time. It is a tool that people can utilize. Now, if you don't use it right and it looks terrible, then shit, yeah, it's going to be a bad idea and you shouldn't do it. It kind of goes to the point of when I do the whole comparisons of I asked ChatGPT to make her look beautiful and people lose their minds on me. I'm like, it's just AI doing a job better than the artist at the game studio was doing it, proving that these artists are being rendered useless if they can't do it better than the computer is doing it. But there was a full statement from Larian that they actually published, and shout out to them for a very based take. This is Sven, the head of Larian Studios. Holy guys, we're not pushing hard for or replacing concept artists with AI yet. We have a team of 72 artists, of which 23 are concept artists, and we are hiring more. The art they create is original, and I'm very proud of what they do. I was asked explicitly about concept art and our use of Gen AI. I answered that we use it to explore things. I didn't say we use it to develop concept art. The artists do that, and they are indeed world-class artists. We use AI tools to explore references, just like we use Google and art books. At the very early ideation stages, we use it as a rough outline for composition, which we replace with original concept art. There is no comparison. I talked about how we use ML here, if you would like to know more. And it says, we've hired creatives for their talent, not for their ability to do what a machine suggests, but they can experiment with these tools to make their lives easier. To which I say, of course, I'm failing to see what the issue is here. But then we go over to Jay Viper, and shout out to him for this one. Says Jason Schreier altering a story and shoving info under the rug from the article in order to create outrage strikes again. Now that people's minds are made up, he releases the rest where people have already set against the studio. Incredible stuff. You don't hate journalists enough. And this is where the story gets fascinating. As an aside, this is from Ramblings of a Filipino Nerd. They said, as an aside, you could blame Jason Schreier for leaving out some context in the Larian interview, which sparked the whole mess that would have mitigated this hysteric anti-AI outrage. Though based off the blue sky responses, perhaps outrage was the reaction he intended after all. Which again, if you ever venture over to Blue Sky, of course, you're going to get the pandering, the nonsense, the wokies. Oh, think of the artists. We need to unionize. We need to protect our non-binary friends and the marginalized people. And these studios should just pay us money for existing because at the end of the day, we're all communists. And that's really what it is. We're not allowed to say that out loud because we know that doesn't sound good, but we are communists. Jason Schreier. If I had known the 2 paragraphs about Gen AI in my article today would be so controversial, I would have expanded them a bit. I bet, Jason. Here's a rough transcript of the relevant portion of my interview with Sven Vinke, so everyone has all the context. He says, I am not sharing this transcript because I think it will make anyone view Larian's stance against Gen AI any differently. I'm sharing it so people can see all the context and judge for themselves if they feel that Larian's position was misrepresented by my story, which should tell you all you need to know. If he's sharing this saying, oh, if my story makes you feel like it was misrepresented, that means it was. That means you didn't do your job to explain the picture fully to people because you went into it with an angle. You wanted people to share the story, get it out there, get clicks, get attention. You didn't give a shit about giving the full picture because that wouldn't get you clicks. That wouldn't cause the outrage. This is what does that. Jason Schreier, speaking of efficiency, you've spoken a little bit about generative AI, and I know that's been a point of discussion on the team too. Do you feel like it can speed up production? Larian, in terms of generation, like white boxing, yes, there's things, but I'm not 100% sure if you're actually seeing speed ups that much. You're trying more stuff. Having tried stuff out, I don't actually think it accelerates things because there's a lot of hype out there. I haven't really seen, oh, this is really going to replace things. I haven't seen that yet. I've seen a lot of where you initially get excited. Oh, this could be cool. And then you say, in the end, it doesn't really do the thing. Everything is human actors. We are writing everything ourselves. There's no generated assets that you're going to see in the game. We are trying to use generated assets to accelerate white boxing. But I mean, to be fair, we're talking about basic things to help the level designers. Again, and this goes on and on for the full context of how there's nothing even remotely controversial in this at all, unless you cherry pick things out of it and run with the story saying, oh, Larian Studios uses AI to make their games. Which is insane because that's basically what he ended up doing. And Legendary drops, which I assume is tongue-in-cheek. I have to applaud some in the media on this one. They absolutely nailed the hysteria when reporting Larian and Samfall use AI. The end result of this will be companies communicating less and being less transparent just to avoid projection and emotional outbursts. Great work, which again, of course, sarcastic. This is awful. This is why I always say, and it's not just me, you can't hate journalists enough. These people are completely disingenuous to get a story, get attention, get a clicks, and then they call us the rage baiters. They call us the grifters for calling this shit out. They project everything that they do on other people all the time. It burns me. It frustrates me because all I want at the end of the day is more transparency from the game industry. That's all I've ever wanted. I'd argue that's all a lot of YouTubers ever want from the game industry. It's just transparency. Let us know what you're doing so we can make a more informed purchasing decision. I don't know why that's such a massive issue, but apparently if you're Jason Schreier, we can't have that. Let's paint them in the worst way possible and try to make them seem like they're doing something shady so that I get some attention on this story. Well, I mean, it worked, but was it worth it, Jason? Legendary Drops continues. It's just funny to me to see people want to attack those who are being transparent, explaining their process. The honest ones All you do is embolden those who aren't being honest and have ill intentions. Fucking idiots. 100%. 100%. And we have Valfor, concept artist here. The AI hate directed at Larian Studios is 100% ignorant and bad faith virtue signaling. Artists are not against AI usage as a tool. We're against generative AI that was trained on real artworks and mass-produced slops that imitated our hard work and then marketed as our replacement. In pre-production, the art team would grab random pics off the internet and other games to create generational mood board and aesthetics for the vibe that fits the art direction. There are more nuances to this, but I'm describing this in the most simplified way possible. A mood board of a character may include several pictures of other video games, anime shows, dozens of objects, texture reference. I don't even think it goes this far. I really don't. With how advanced the large language models have become, you don't need to feed it individual pictures to get stuff out of it. You can just tell it what you want, and it will pull from hundreds of thousands of millions of pictures from the internet and create something put together from that. So sure, it's doing the same thing, but it's on a much larger scale. And I would argue that eventually, yes, it is going to be coming for your job. There will be, I'm sure, a demand always, forever, to have individual artists create work. And that will be what they run their game on. But that's not going to, by and large, that's not going to be the norm. It's just the same with, there's still painters in this world. But there's a hell of a lot more people drawing on their computers now than painting with paintbrushes. So technology continues to grow and advance and replace people. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to be replaced. Grum says AI is absolutely everywhere, both generative and LLMs. Anti-AI people are hypocrites for being outraged by image generation while they go and research and write their college homework with ChatGPT. 100%. Man, college would have been so much easier if ChatGPT was around when I was a kid. Notice they are mostly artists and are never angry at AI use in code, which is a much bigger threat to human replacement and equally as mined from sources on the net. If you reject AI, you must reject it fully and give it up yourself. In those other aspects of your life, they don't seem to be nearly as troubled about. Something people are increasingly unwilling to do. That's true. Like, do you have a phone in your pocket that uses a digital camera that replaces the analog cameras? You're okay with the digital picture of someone? That's not a real picture. It's just a bunch of pixels. How could you use a camera phone? That's when I hear people say they're anti-AI, that's the kind of stuff I hear. I'm like, really? You just hate progression. It's crazy. Daniel Vavra, which if you remember this guy from Warhorse Studios, very controversial developer, can be seen as based and also someone that bends the knee when necessary. He says, this AI hysteria is the same as when people were smashing steam engines in the 19th century. Larian said they were doing something that absolutely everyone else is doing and got an insanely crazy shitstorm. I've even seen someone accuse us of using AI in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I don't know anything about it except that I used Topaz Labs to upscale some of the AI elements from Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and some of the old low-res textures. I'm no fan of AI-generated art, but anyway, it's time to face reality. AI is here to stay with us. As frightening as it may be, that's the way it is. Personally, it scares me the most that in music because you can't even recognize AI there anymore. It's true. AI music is really, really good. Give it a few years. Imagine where it's going to be at that point. On the other hand, you know what I hate most about making games? The fact that it takes 7 years and 300 people and tens of millions of dollars to make it. And the fact that Tom had to spend 500 hours in the studio recording completely generic heckling and generic bars. If AI can help me make an epic game in the year with a smaller team, like in the old days, I'm all for it. That game will still have an art director, writers, programmers, graphic designers, but they won't have to do the tiresome and boring tasks. They'll have to focus on the essentials. And imagine, by the way, and this is the thing that people that hate AI can never understand. If AI takes over the boring, remedial, waste of time shit that you need to do in every game, Imagine how much more open free time that frees up to expand on things that AI isn't doing, where the creativity can actually flow into the game, where you can actually expand the experience way further than the scope would have allowed if the AI wasn't there to assist. He continues and says, I have ideas for lots of games, but I'm 50 years old. And so far, it's taken me 7 years on average to make one game. If AI helps me realize those ideas faster, I'm all for it. As for the RPG and the actors, wouldn't it be nice if you could ask anyone anything in an RPG? Like maybe someone for their road directions or what they think of their neighbors? We already have tools that can do it where you script an NPC, their character, their knowledge, and opinions, and then they talk to you about anything for non story stuff. This is an absolutely revolutionary development from a player's point of view, which I've always wondered too when it comes to AI, where it can make almost like a unique experience for everyone playing the game. You never know what you're going to get. And people can say, oh, that's not authentic. That's not from the artist perspective. If it takes you in a different direction or a different way and brings you into something that was the artist's direction, things like that, it marries the two together perfectly. There is something to be said for that. At least I'm willing to hear it out and see how it feels. Maybe it's terrible. Maybe it's the worst thing in the world, but why would you shut it down before even giving the chance to see what it's like? And you can't record it with an actor because it has infinite variations. But what you can record are cutscenes and story dialogue. You don't need to have an Oscar level performance when ordering a sausage in a pub or when asking how to get to the castle. Exactly. A unique conversation just for a generic convo is welcome, as opposed to a generic text line or a generic voice line for things that you need to talk to people on. I could see a need for it or a use for it. Programmers have a problem. The work of most of them will probably not be needed very soon. We will have software architects, and the AI will do the programming very soon. Resisting this is probably as meaningful as resisting the use of sewing machines in the textile industry, or going back to riding on horses while we could use planes and cars. How many horse breeders lost their jobs thanks to Henry Ford? And anyone that's flown in an airplane, like, why are you flying on airplanes? I thought you didn't like advancements in technologies. Wait, whoa, you're drawing lines now, arbitrary ones, because it affects your job? Weird. Who and how will recognize if the game was programmed by a human or AI? And who would want to spend months of work and hundreds of thousands of dollars when the same thing could be achieved in minutes for free? The whole AI revolution may mean the demise of humanity. Nobody knows now, but it may also mean that anyone at a fraction of the current cost will be able to implement virtually any grand idea. Making a game will be as easy as writing a book. There will be more games. We'll just see the return of niche genres. Some games will be better, maybe just a few. There will also be a lot of trash, but who cares? There's lots of average trash in books or music for years. Very true. It will also be an end of most big publishers and Hollywood as we know it. Nobody will need their money and resources anymore. And that's true, by the way. You see some of the generative AI from Google, and I've covered it before too, but the movies that you can already create now, and if you purchase a license to make them even longer, like the technology is almost there. It's really close where you could literally just script a movie out and then have it come to life and do whatever you want in it. Create the characters, create the scenes, create the world, create the storyline, do everything, and then have it come to life on the screen. You can be the director, and it looks incredible. And that scares the shit out of people who make a lot of money off this and are really popular from this, or the people that just work in the industry and it's all they know. Equally scares the shit out of them as well. What we saw with boom of indie scene thanks to Steam, we will see with AAA games thanks to AI. Or Skynet will destroy us before we all do that. Either way, there's no stopping it. I used AI to translate this text from my native language. Let the shitstorm begin. What a bagger post by him. Grub's following up over here. Says, this will cause a short-term effect of many studios hiding their use of AI, which I agree. This goes back to the whole, after Jason Schreier did that shit, nobody's going to want to come out and say, yeah, we're using AI too after the shitstorm that just happened here, even though they're all using it. Every studio. If a studio comes to you and says, oh, they're not using AI right now, either one, they're or two, they're lying to you. because every studio is using AI right now in at least some form, some way, shape, or form. It is being utilized across the board at every studio. So you can either choose to believe a lie or trust a studio that is falling behind everyone else. But this is the future. Long term, it won't matter. Even generative AI will be embraced because gamers can just ask what they want out of the maps, characters, and even full games. Once people get that level of custom creation, all other concerns will fade. This one from Pyle says, so many people turned on Larian Studios because they're using AI as a tool, not a replacement for jobs. Well, yet. Like, why do you want games to take 10 years to make or way shorter? I feel like majority have no idea how AI even works. Make work faster equals good. I think people that don't understand AI have seen AI slop. They're thinking about like the Will Smith eating spaghetti from, 8 years ago, where it's just like hysterical, terrible, terrible videos. It's advanced so far. The capabilities are incredible right now, to the point of, I know every time I post the Make Her Hotter series on ChatGPT, it fires up the wokies every time because they know it's better than the original. And they have nothing they can say to stop it because it is better than what the artists are doing. And if AI is better than a human, that human should be out of a job. Welcome to business 101. If something is doing it better than you and people want to buy that over what you're doing, goodbye. Like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. There are people that are crying about it. I said, Modder cries about Sandfall's success because AI is coming for his gig. So it wasn't just Larian Studios. It was also Sandfall Studios that came out saying that they use some AI, but not much. This is Francois Mercier, producer of Clair Obscur, says the key is that we were very clear about what we wanted to do and what to invest in. And of course, technology has allowed us to do things that were unthinkable a short time ago. Unreal Engine 5 tools and assets have been very important in improving the great graphics, gameplay, and cinematics. And this guy coping like crazy. Incredibly, unbelievably disappointing. And especially with the focus on Expedition 33 towards artistic expression and creativity. Just brutal. I'd love more clarity on how it was used. Who the cares, bro? It's an amazing game. Why do you need to know, oh, was this area made by a computer? Or was this area made, was there a dude that just spent nights and weekends all day grinding away for doing something that was done in 10 seconds by a computer that basically accomplished the same thing? Why does it matter to you? Why? And to what degree? As there is a difference between machine learning and generative AI. If they were straight up generating assets or concept art, even as placeholders, I don't like it. All right, bro. Well, you can be left behind because clearly this guy, he's a modder. Of course, he doesn't like the AI because he's like, I'm going to be out of a job. People are going to be able to mod stuff on their own without my expertise. That's what he's worried about. That's what all the people crying about this are worried about. And at the end of the day, AI is coming and there is no stopping it. So people can cry and complain all they want. Larian Studios, I would argue, is ahead of the curve on this. Daniel Vavra sees it. Warhorse Studios above, ahead of the curve on Sandfall, ahead of the curve. All these studios, you're either going to be using it or you're going to be out of business. I'll leave that there.